Hey guys, it's September. Welcome to another episode of the Priceless Update Summary video series. You've got Stone here, you've got Whatley there, you've got Fletcher there. In this video series, we highlight new line items that were added to the Xactimate price list every month and what's changed. So we're going to start by taking a look at the 17 new line items that were added to the Xactimate price list in September 2025. New line items. All right, here we go. 15 of the 17 new line items were added to the FCV category. The first 10 here are new underlayment line items. We've got 3 perspecs from independent analysis line items, rubber glue down, rubber per, and sound crack membrane. And we've got several more rubber and sound crack line items. We've got 1/4 inch rubber, we've got 1/8 inch rubber, we've got 3/8, 1/2 inch floating, we've got 1/4 inch to 3/8 glue down, and 3 more sound crack membrane. Now the actionable alerts already had guidance in them for the independent analysis line items that already existed, and Fletcher's updating our guidance on these new line items. Whatley, what do you think about these additions?
Well, as it relates to the independent analysis line items, I think it's a shame that we have to spend that much time as a contractor or IA shipping in underlayment now to have it valued. What that communicates to me is just a lack of trust within the claim settlement environment. But okay, so fine, third-party analysis. Like we're gonna send that in too. Like where's the limit, dude? Like we're gonna go send in the grout too, because we've got all the tile independent analysis. Like, are we gonna independent analysis the grout? Do we trust each other at all, friends? I don't know. Anyhow, so those line items exist. Not the pricing department's fault. They're just responding to the current state of claim settlement. But if you know enough, there's something to be read in here about how contentious things have become. All right. So as it relates to like the rubber underlayment versus sound crack membrane, this will be interesting to see what Fletcher does as it relates to the rules, because I think these rubber line items in particular are biased towards commercial, so the rules might bias commercial in that context. I think sound crack membrane are more residential fitting, but definitely could be used in a commercial in some settings, especially as you get to the thicker end, the 70 to 90 millimeter. So yeah, dude, underlayment's a thing. It's really tricky when you're looking at flooring, guys. What's counterintuitive is some of the cheaper line items for flooring actually now include membranes, and so the rules have had to adjust and evolve for that over the last 5 years. So I can't even tell you off the top of my head where everything otherwise resides, but trust in the actionable alerts, because they will guide you accordingly, because it's gotten really confusing about when underlayment is or is not warranted. 100%.
Moving on. The next 5 I'm excited about. We've got several new FCV category trim line items. Now, if you've done a lot of LVP flooring, which is pretty common, especially in builder grade homes when you're doing repairs after a water damage where there's existing linoleum or sheet vinyl, you've probably noticed that there's some gaps with the trim and transition line items. So here's what we have. We've got reducer strip for regular LVP flooring and high grade. We've got T-molding specifically for vinyl plank LVP flooring and high grade. We also have a detach and reset line item for the vinyl plank flooring trim. So Fletcher, we've already started with the guidance for these new line items in the actionable profile, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. Yeah. Definitely, like you, excited for these. You know, just thinking of my time working with insurance companies, I think this is a great starting point to help alleviate some of the contention in that claim settlement. Working with the adjuster, having a line item specific for it rather than trying to parse something together with the FCW category. This is a great add to see. So really excited.
100%. And it's very common, especially after mitigation, going back with LVP, just because it's so quick and easy. Just throw it in and go. So if you want estimating guidance within Xactimate, go to getinsights.org/demo and get set up today. You can follow this guidance within the actionable profile with your estimates now. So these associated line items are commonly missed in estimates, and that's the value of our Xactimate profile, especially in cases like this.
Fletcher, did you hear his Indiana like come out there for a moment and then he crammed it down?
Just a little bit of it.
Yeah, it was there, and then he was like, nope.
Got the Midwesterner in the bunch, guys. especially in cases like this where new line items exist where they did not previously. So you get educated as you estimate. Moving on. We've got a new plumbing line item, a copper pipe repair, which is a press fit coupling. I'm going to open up the additional item info on this one so that we can.
Coupling? Are you doing more Indiana stuff? It's not a coupling. There's no way it's a coupling.
We're going to go down to the crick and have a revival.
Yeah, it's a coupling, Stone. It's coupling. I don't know anything about this line item. You know wildly more than me. I just know it's pronounced coupling. That's all I know. That's my contribution.
So we at Team Actionable love working together, and you get to enjoy that too at my expense today. So anyway, we do a lot of plumbing repairs in this industry, and as press fit copper plumbing becomes more prevalent, it's good that we have these resources. So, and last but not
Hold on.
least,
What is the coupling? Fletcher, come on. Let's unpack
expound
this thing.
upon this. Go for it.
Yeah,
What the hell is this?
A coupling is basically like a piece to a repair. So think of like a T, but it's not a T. It's more or less just like a straight repair piece.
Joining two pieces together.
Yep.
Got it. It's interesting that this is a line item that Xactimate would adopt within their core price list, given how rarely carriers are inclined to extend relief or provide indemnity for the direct plumbing repair. They will, of course, pay for the impact of the sudden damage, sudden and catastrophic damage, no problem. I shouldn't say no problem, but that's what they typically respond to, but not the actually repair itself.
Right.
I'm wondering what the scenario is where this one got adopted. I don't know. Fletcher, do you have a take?
I think the only thing that I could see with it that makes sense is, in my experience, most of the time, if it's a freeze-related loss, the repair to the pipe is often covered. So if your host has a freeze, and that's the most likely scenario to use a line item like this. So I think it is something that could be helpful to a carrier where you're not necessarily waiting on a subcontractor invoice. You can at least get some payment to the insured right away. But
dude, that's a
than that,
great
it's not
perspective.
Super
That makes
thoughtful
sense.
to use it on a constant day-to-day basis.
Well, I'm thinking of guys from a San Diego perspective. We don't have freezes. And so when a pipe breaks, it's due to the copper pipe, like breaking down over time, maybe the expansion contraction associated with getting colder or hotter and it rubbing against the aggregate within the slab and so on. That is very different than how a carrier would be willing to extend coverage for a freeze itself, because that particular sudden event of weather caused the rupture of the pipe. So I think that's the answer. Well done, Fletcher.
Yep. And as we see more pressed fit couplings in our industry, as that plumbing system's becoming more common, it's just a quick and easy way to do a repair. You don't have to bring a torch into somebody's house, melting soldering. You just slide it on, crimp it, and things are good.
You press that
Just speak to your
coupling on.
people. Yeah, there's plenty of Midwesterners watching this, Stone. So just speak to your people, bro. Do you?
Moving on. Okay. Last but not least, we have profile matching tile roofing vents. I love talking about our commercial roofing guidance within the actionable profile because I used to be terrible at commercial roof estimating. I love seeing these new line items, and I love the fact that we can guide the user towards the fact that they exist and the related components to a commercial roofing system, just so that you can have a full cohesive scope. Fletcher, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge ad, but I think it's just exciting to see more variety, more opportunity to use a line item that better reflects the scope of a loss. I mean, at the end of the day for this, profile matching tile roofing vent, making sure that it's the same profile or design of the existing roof tiles. At the end of the day, I think it's important. It's going to cost a little more money than just your standard roof tile vent. So it's just a good ad in that aspect, but it's nothing groundbreaking.
I agree. So, all right, that's all the new line items that we've added to the Xactimate price list in September 2025. So now, let's check out the changes. Check out the changes. Jump over here, line item changes. Right off the bat, DRYPATCHJ. So we've talked about this over the past 2 months. There's been an update to the additional item information. Specifically, they're trying to say this is to clean up a cut so that the wall is ready to accept a new drywall repair. There's been some confusion to that. As we know, in the world of mitigation and restoration, sometimes it's just a restorer or a technician with a razor knife. There may not be a straight edge. That cut may not be to a drywaller's standards, and they just want to clean that up a little bit to facilitate the repair. FCWNFCPUDG. This has been updated with some additional item information related to our new line items up here. Nothing major. We have a couple of big changes to these GLS line items that you see right here. Essentially the labor rate has went up across all of these. If you've done commercial storefronts, you know that it can be challenging to estimate. Not only do you have to have all the related line items for the glass, for the window tint, etc., pricing can be challenging to estimate. So I'm glad to see that there's been a labor rate change to these. Now the GLSSFD line items, these have updated definitions. So they clarify now that the lock, the cylinder, the sweep, and the threshold would be included. So as I've said it before, I love when the pricing department removes ambiguity. There's one for you, Whatley, and adds clarity. So if there are any questions related to what a line item does or doesn't include, if you provide your feedback, they listen. And in this case, they make updates accordingly. GLSSFW and SGLDR, we have some minor changes to the labor component. Again, these have also went up just a little bit. We've got a slew of changes to these PLM line items. What they have done is they've updated the additional item info to say that this disconnect is specifically going between the unit itself and the supply lines. Disconnect from supply lines. So all of these line items have been updated to reflect that change, just to provide that the updated clarity.
So what was the deal? So previously folks are detaching the bidet with the removal line item, and then they're hitting it with PLMSUP install to account for the detaching of the bidet. And so now the motion for the pricing department is to say that it's included.
Yeah, so what they've done is they've updated this. So previously it just said detach a bidet, and now it says detach from the supply lines.
Yeah, so I think the clarification with it is ultimately that the supply lines aren't coming off. They're staying attached to the bib stop or the angle stop.
Boy, you could read that a different way with now what they attempted to clarify, because it's like, okay, it's $230 just to detach the supply lines. I mean, that's the way you would read it if you knew nothing with no history. That's bizarre. I don't think that's particularly clear. Okay, so Sam, go ahead and audit the rule set and see what happens when we detach bidets as it relates to the supply lines. We may be guiding users towards detaching the supply lines as a separate activity. I can tell what the pricing department's trying to do is they're trying to include it here, but the fact that they included it under note, guys, and not includes is bizarre in and of itself. You see that? Like, it would be includes detaching from supply lines if they're doing what I think they're doing. I'm not sure. Stone, why don't you follow up the pricing department and clarify, and then we'll revisit it next month.
Absolutely. And there has been a trend in our industry, wherever possible, restorers are replacing supply lines just to, help indemnity. So you don't want that secondary loss. But yeah, we will follow up. And as I said, the pricing department does listen. When you reach out and you've got a thorough and substantiated issue or concern, they reply in depth. And if it warrants a change, they make an update to the price list.
Yeah, the supply line thing is so interesting to see a guy like Curtis G going around with loss ratio. He makes a lot of content and performs a lot of inspections for carriers. And one of his big things is like, guys, we got to replace these damn supply lines, especially if he sees like the cheap plastic ones, in favor of the steel braid. And all I can remember is, like, as a restorer, how much pushback I got from carriers when I was just trying to replace supply lines when I would reattach a sink, which is totally customary for plumbers to do. But there was resistance because that was perceived to be, remember that whole conversation we had at the outset of this video, whether that's like a maintenance issue or whether that's a consequential damage caused by the detach and reset process. Oh boy, what's the brass tacks on all that nonsense? If you're a staff adjuster or I-Day and you're in a position to approve some $18 PLM SUP, for God's sakes, just let them replace the supply line. This is better for the carrier, and it totally constrains indemnity. There's whole businesses that have been set up around that notion to constrain indemnity. So to cram down contractors for that is the most antithetical thing you could do if you actually cared about the bottom line of a carrier.
Yep, 100%. RFGSTEEP. There has been an update to the yield on these. So the yield's been adjusted up slightly, so the prices went down a little. SDG metal, these line items, they have a modified description now to reference that aluminum, steel is the material. Previously, it didn't specify that. WDP6F8, they've modified the quality field of this to reference fiberglass. Previously, that was not specific. WTRPATCHJ, minor adjustment to the verbiage in the additional item info note on this one related to what we discussed up above with DRYPATCHJ. And then finally, WTRPLA line items, we have a modified labor component yield for the removal. That has went up a little bit. So that's all the changes this month. Let's look forward to the future. Forward to the future. We're going to be looking at a couple of interesting things next month. They're going to be reviewing the material association of different grades of shingles, reviewing the yield assumptions of forced air furnace items. They're going to be modifying the existing flat skylight items to reflect current market products and standards. Additional items for motorized venting skylights. That's going to be interesting for our roofing guidance. Additional items for rain caps to the FPL category. That's a good one. They've listened to feedback. We see that in the Ninjas Forum on Facebook all the time. And additional items for additional levels of cleaning of exterior surfaces. Very curious what they're going to do with that. So that's it. That's the September 2025 plus video. We've got 17 new line items and a lot of impactful changes. Check us out at getinsights.org. All of these videos are hosted and hyperlinked so you can jump right to anything you want to discuss within the video to review and share. And most importantly, getinsights.org/demo. If you don't have the actionable profile, get set up with a free demo now. Martin will give you a tour of our profile that guides you on the overages and emissions that you've seen in this video within your scope. So till we see you next month, never stop learning.
Keep building.
Stay humble.